and all the lawyers on Twitter.
There are a lot of lawyers on Twitter.
A lot of
There's
lawyers.
it's concerning how many lawyers play fantasy football.
Shouldn't they be focused on
we're a highly
civil rights or
represented
something?
Group.
Yeah, this makes me very.
Everybody's worried about the civil rights of the serial abusers that they draft.
Well, I'm concerned that if I ever need a lawyer, right, that I'm not going to get good representation because of the fantasy football element involved in it. So that's going to be my.
I think you'll get better representation because people will be like, "Oh, I can't have Shane go to jail. They can't record dynasty trades in 5 years to life."
That's true, but they'll be so busy consuming content that they won't have any time to focus on my habeas corpus right.
What does habeas corpus mean, Shane?
You know, the right to not be of search and seizure. Exactly.
I don't even know how to spell habeas corpus.
Amendment.
How do you spell habeas corpus?
It's illegal. They can't hold you without charges in somewhere.
Yeah, it means to produce the body.
Yeah.
Wait, Jacob, do you know how to spell it?
Yeah, it's HABEAS space CORPUS.
I would have
put that.
I would have put it. Yeah, that's right. I would have put it like at least an OUS. You know,
it is a application by which if someone feels that they are wrongfully detained and they've exhausted other avenues, they can make an application for habeas corpus and thus have the body produced to determine if the way in which they were detained was unconstitutional.
Isn't that what I said? Someone's illegally holding you.
Well, you said search and seizure.
Well, there's
I'm not sure that searching is the same as detaining, but it's in the same general area. It's like,
well, it is.
An illegal search is the cousin of the illegal detention.
Yeah, yes. And you, as a Canadian, you should know that because all your rights are derived from the Constitution. All right, which is strictly from the Bible.
Actually, our Constitution is called the British North America Act.
Yeah. But it all comes from the Bible. That's all we need to know.
Shane, the only illegal holding you're going to have to worry about is me holding you at the fantasy football convention here in about a week and a half. So let's go ahead and kick this show off.
This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Shane Manila, Jakob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
I'm a little annoyed. Why do I not have the ability to respond to our viewers and listeners? I had it for like a week, and then you took it away from me.
I didn't take it away from you. You must have signed into a different account.
You should produce an application for a habeas button.
This is habeas corpus.
Guys, welcome into Fantasy Intervention. We are once again starting off on a non-fantasy aspect. Now, welcome on into Fantasy Intervention. We have quite a few topics to talk about today. Of course, Sean Watson, some breakout candidates and some bust candidates. I am joined by my two co-hosts at Shane is the Worst, Shane Manila, of course, and at FF_RTDB, Jakob Sanderson. What's going on, guys? How's your night starting out? What you got going on?
I mean, it's been a wild day on the news front. It's been like a weird day in that, like my human being reaction is just like, fucking get this guy, Raj. But also I'm like trying to figure out the hell what this process is with everything with Watson, try and get people the right information of what to expect. We play an inhumanly speculative game sometimes, but otherwise I'm enjoying the camp hype. I'm enjoying Romeo Dubs season. It just does not stop. Every single day, I get more incredible plays from Romeo Dubs. Aaron Rodgers today said every single day he makes a wow play in practice. You don't often see young guys do that. Some do. The guys that do, they're all in the top 10 in Packers receiving history. So, it's Dubs season. Are we at the point now where you would rather have Romeo Doubs in Dynasty than Christian Watson?
So I kind of, based on their cost, I was always a Dubs guy.
Well, based on cost, I was too. I'm saying, what if it was straight up? Because I've now seen two things that I didn't know that I would see this year, which is I've seen Romeo Doubs taken ahead of Christian Watson now in a best ball draft, and I just saw an analyst post that they traded Christian Watson for Romeo Doubs in a dynasty league today. And I want to know, are these people insane, or are they ahead of the curve? Or
no, these people are fucking stupid. I don't really care who the analyst was. Based on the fact that he did that or she did that, I don't want their advice. Dude, that's terrible process. It's fucking poor process. It's everything about that is wrong.
Is it habeas corpus?
It's habeas corpus. It's
legal
erroneous. It's erroneous on all accounts. Look, if you want to
erroneous,
if you want to get rid of Christian erroneous. If you want to get it does stink. Does. If you want to get rid of Christian Watson, fine. That ain't the way to do it, though, dipshit.
Oh my god!
I don't have that concern, like, because I don't have. I think I actually have one Christian Watson in 48 leagues, which is the number that I wanted to target. I have a lot of Dubs, and I've been wondering when is the time to send out offers, or if they're just going to continue to be more and more hype. But so. If anyone's wondering, like, who is the hell is this Dubs guy? He was like a pretty interesting Devy prospect. I think I had him wide receiver 9 in this class coming into this year. He had his worst year this year on like an age-adjusted threshold perspective. Like, he actually had a productive season. He was up over 1,000 yards, but Carson Strong passed for a gajillion yards. So he fell a little bit. I think his profile is pretty strong, like as in terms of 4-year group of 5 players. He profiles to me somewhat similar to like a Michael Gallup, Darnell Mooney, someone in that range, but he's still a day 3 wide receiver. So I think like we've been at a point where I've been drafting a lot of Dubs. I've been drafting in best ball, I've been drafting in dynasty. We're reaching the point where I might end up sadly having to flip, because he's going, all of a sudden I've seen him go in round 12 in best ball leagues. I was in a rookie draft today. Apparently some people still do those. I have 2 left. I was in a rookie draft. He went in the 2nd round today of the rookie draft. It's getting a little bit aggressive. I would be holding Watson. I would probably be trying to see if I could sell Dubs for a 23 second.
God, that's crazy. You can get 23 second round pick for Dubs. Like, that's absolutely insane.
Shane would love to sell some Dubs for 23 seconds.
Look, I play in dynasty leagues, and I understand that. Look, this is what happens in the preseason, right? George Pickens, the wide receiver 1.
Oh God, it's insane. The camp hype out of the Steelers Nation right now is nuts, and I feel like it's very close to this every year. But Pickens and the fact that like all of a sudden he made this diving one-handed catch while he got hit with a bag is now an impressive play that he could make.
Right? He, like,
after dropping it, he dropped it, and then he bobbled it, and then he dropped it again, and then he dove and catch it.
He's got that dog in him.
Dude, it's nuts to me how people are like getting hyped about this. Like, I posted something about Donovan Peoples-Jones. Yes, we're gonna talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones for a second. And it was Donovan Peoples-Jones doing a little toe tap, right? And it was stupid.
Can I get a temporary restraining order against Donovan Peoples-Jones' discussion on this show? Did he fully leave the room?
Crazy. He left the room. He's not in the background anymore. He's left the show. He's left the show. But I mean, the fact that like people got behind me on this is so funny.
An hour of shame because you couldn't shut up about Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Dude, no, he's back. I wasn't even high.
A temporary restraining order against you. I'm getting a legal injunction against any mentions of Donovan Peoples-Jones.
If there is one more Donovan Peoples-Jones outburst in this sphere, I am definitely gonna beat you with. You
didn't think that was a great toe tap? That was a great toe tap.
I didn't watch it because I don't care.
You know who does well in camp in shorts, right? Like, it's not
athletic
surprising to me when they're like, oh, like Jerry Jeudy isn't popping at camp. Yeah, because you know who doesn't need camp? Like technicians who run routes, right? When you're getting pressed by dudes in pads. You know who loves camp and shorts? It's like big, fast dudes who have no route running ability, but they just run down the sideline and then leap and grab balls. And then it's like, oh man, DPJ. Like, hasn't DPJ been the best player in camp every year? How's it worked out?
No. That was an out route that he ran against no coverage whatsoever. And it was so weird that it was literally the most pointless post ever. And so many people. I got like 50 likes on it. It was so ridiculous. And I mean, everybody knows that I love
I
Don
saw
People's
that
Notes, but
video. It was like the one
was
in slow motion.
Of Elijah
there-
Moore.
Oh, the
No,
Elijah Moore one
Donovan
was good too.
Peoples Jones.
I was going to say that Elijah Moore one-handed catch he made might have been the most impressive
Troy-
thing I've ever seen. I need
Troy,
people
me
to
too.
do. They need to put these slow motion ones to like Chariots of Father.
Troy.
Oh my God. All right, so real quick, let's go ahead and hop on some real conversation, some real talk. I do see Ridley Truther does have a question. We'll leave that for a little bit. We need to talk about some relevance that's happening right now, something that's actually important, and that's the Deshaun Watson case.
Yes.
We talked about it prior to the show. We have so many lawyers that are on Twitter right now. All of a sudden, they got the degrees overnight, and they can now tell us what's going to happen. But then they're not just lawyers. They are now involved in the NFLPA, and they know what the NFLPA is going to do along with the legal system. So Jacob, real quick, actually, you know what? I think Shane's a little bit more of an expert in this field. I'm sorry, Jacob. I know you're an actual lawyer studying to be one. Shane, I think is more qualified to answer some of these questions.
I'll say this.
Shane's been on the other side of the law more often.
Yeah, I am more based on, and this isn't to take away from the legitimate, like Drew Davenport's, right? Those guys,
Yeah,
I
Drew's
listen
awesome.
to. I share their threads, and I go, all right, well, it's then we try to like extrapolate what we think it means, even though like Drew's telling us exactly what it means, and we're going, well, then you have guys like me, like, well, they should just decertify the union. And you're like, well, they can't do that, Shane. And you're like, yes, they can. They should just.
Shane, I never knew you were such a union buster.
They should. Well, no,
thought
see,
you were-
you decertify the union to void the CBA because the CBA that allows your commissioner to be the final judge and jury
That's
after
so
it goes
absurd.
to an arbitrator is just fucking absurd and stupid. And somehow the NFL has done such a poor job on this. They've made themselves the bad guy. And I'm rooting now for Deshaun Watson against them. Like, what the fuck? Like, good job, Roger. Excellent job.
Yeah, so I think what Shane's talking about. So I just want to go through like the process. Like I have plenty of my thoughts on like what should happen, what could happen, whatever. But in terms of the process, as I understand it, and like to be clear, what I'm not going to talk about is like the merits of the case because I haven't even read like the full 16-page Robinson decision. We have no idea what exactly the legal argument that Goodell or his designee is going to actually use to overturn the suspension. But this is essentially what we should be expecting to see. So they have a two-step disciplinary process that the Players Association somehow agreed to. It's lost on me why, but they did. In which you have an independent arbitrator. So we saw that. We had Sue Robinson. Here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. She gave 6 games. Then we have step 2, which is Raj can come in and Raj can say, he can Emperor Palpatine, right? I am the appeal. And he can essentially have the NFL appeal to themselves or have them appeal to someone that he chooses to designate. But the union does not have a say in who that person who hears the appeal is. Assuming it's going to be Roger. And if it's not Roger, then I'm sure he's picking someone who he's fully aware of how they're going to decide. Yeah. Let's just be real about this, right? He's not going to appeal this decision to then not overturn it. Like, let's get real. It's just a matter of whether it's 1 year, 12 games, or indefinite. So they're going to overturn this. And then what happens is the only remaining step is that Deshaun Watson and the NFLPA have the ability to then bring a suit against the NFL in federal court. The issue with that is they're probably not going to win because a collective bargaining agreement gets a lot of deference from courts, right? The court will not be making a decision on whether this process the NFL has put in place is reasonable. They'll be making a ruling based on whether the application of the process is reasonable, based on the process that the NFLPA and the NFL agreed to collectively. And so ultimately what the collective bargaining agreement says is that this decision from Sue Robinson is essentially a recommendation which the commissioner can choose to follow or not follow, and that he has the final say. And so as long as the commissioner can stipulate some sort of reasonable grounds, I think that's the decision that's ultimately going to stand. Potentially the more impactful part for fantasy, especially this year, is what's called a temporary restraining order, or a TRO. And that's where if the union seeks this, they can say, while you wait to decide on the merits of the case, right, whether the suspension should be overturned or upheld, whatever it is that the NFL decides, they can appeal to federal court and say, before you decide whether or not to rule on the NFL suspension, temporarily enjoin, which is an injunction, enjoin that decision so that we can wait and play this out while we wait and see on the merits of the case. They might be successful in that because there's two main ways that those get decided on. One is the basis of irreparable harm, right? And when I mean irreparable harm, that's can it be repaired or not be repaired? And in this case, that would weigh on the side of the NFLPA. You can always suspend someone later. You can't unsuspend someone who's already been suspended. However, it's also based on, is there a reasonable probability of success? And you don't have to decide that on the same level that you do the merits of the case. It's a much lower threshold, but I'm not sure they would even have a reasonable probability of success. So I think very likely that whatever suspension Goodell puts on Watson is eventually going to be the one that's going to stick. It's just a matter of whether there's going to be a temporary restraining order on that. And so I think we probably have a better chance of seeing Watson playing in the first half of the season, to be entirely honest, than we do in the latter half of the season, based on how this process will end up working out.
Wow. So what about ending up on the commissioner exempt list? Is that a possibility while they try to figure it out? Well,
it's a possibility, but
and would that play into the suspension?
I would imagine that's not going to happen, right? So what would happen is while the commissioner is going to come up with his ruling within a week, it's going to be expedited. That's going to happen well before the season. Then you're going to have the suit in federal court. If the commissioner then tried to put him on the exempt list after the court issued a TRO, which enjoined the suspension, I imagine then the NFLPA would just go back to court, ask for another TRO on the exempt list, and if they were to grant it on the suspension, they would immediately grant it on the exempt list because it would essentially be the same effect. So I don't think you'll end up on the exempt list. I think it's probably going to go one of three ways, right? The most likely way to me is that there's going to be a temporary restraining order, that he's going to be playing some games while they wait for the merits of the case to be decided. I don't know the timeline. And then eventually that suspension is put back into place. I think the other most likely option is that the temporary restraining order is not put in place based on the case being ruled not to be meritless from the NFLPA, and that the suspension goes in place as Goodell inputs it. And then the far less likely option is that the court eventually rules with the NFLPA and that it's reduced back to 6 games. But I think that Watson's going to be serving a year-long suspension at some point in time. I'm just not sure exactly when.
Yeah, so so here's when I was joking about decertifying the union. If I'm Watson, I'm taking the NFLPA to court too and saying that you bargained in bad faith and you didn't represent me as a union member.
You can sue them for duty for a breach of duty of fair representation. But the problem with that is that I don't think you win, because a breach of duty of fair representation implies that there was some level usually of arbitrary discrimination where one individual player has been breached, and that wouldn't be the case, because the issue isn't that they have unjustly represented him in this particular case. It's that they did a bad job of collective bargaining in the first place in a way that has not made Watson disadvantaged vis-a-vis any other player. The only thing that makes him disadvantaged by the way that the process was handled was all the things that he's accused of. Any player theoretically in this situation would run into the same issues. So I don't think that he would be successful in that act.
So, and the less legal way about this, but the NFL, I'm sure the NFL doesn't want all their skeletons out there. But if I'm Deshaun Watson's team,
like they're pretty willing.
Oh my God. Every chick that Jerry Jones raped, every prostitute that Robert Kraft slept with that was, that's still in the country that hasn't been sold off into Eastern Europe, would be dragged out.
Dude, shame.
That's what Robert Kraft was sleeping with prostitutes that were human trafficked. I'm not saying that one's better than the other. I'm saying it's equally abhorrent. So if I'm Deshaun Watson's team, I'm going, okay, well, my bridge is burning, but guess what? So's yours. I will burn the fucking shield to the ground. And that's what I would do.
I do find it funny personally. Like the idea of owners being suspended. Like what?
Yeah.
What's the owner? It's like you can't come to your luxury box today, Steven.
Wait, what?
That's didn't that just happen to the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, that's why I said
Steven.
Steven
Yeah.
Ross. Yeah, he's suspended through
that's so
October.
weird.
Right. It's like no luxury box for you, Steven. You get your caviar at home.
Yeah,
At least Dan Snyder took it upon himself to take himself away from football
He
activities
didn't. No,
so
he
his wife
didn't.
could handle it.
No, he didn't. He was ordered to do that, but it's still bullshit.
I know. I'm just saying,
yeah.
he
But
decided.
yeah, and Balls' life says, don't forget the Washington owner. Here's my problem with all of this, right? I think Deshaun Watson is a scumbag, but
There it is.
But so is the management of the league. And unless there's going to be some kind of something levied against Daniel Snyder for multiple sexual assaults, among just what all the other sexual harassment that just ran rampant, and that was encouraged by his, and just specifically in Washington. If you remember that story that came out a couple of years ago,
cheerleaders and
everything. And Robert Kraft was having sex with sex slaves. We call them what human traffic sounds too. It takes away what they are. They are sex slaves.
It makes it sound like they're Hollywood Brown, right? The human traffic going 100 miles an hour.
Right. No. They're sex slaves. Yeah. Jerry Jones has raped multiple women. But these things are fine because they're white and rich. And that's really all that matters. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, guess what card I'm playing? Yeah, I'm pulling it out. Big Ben raped how many women?
That's true.
Raped.
That's what's
raped.
heard,
And he did 6 games. I'd be pulling out every white face I could because
in fact, Big Ben got 6 games. They appealed to Goodell, and Goodell said 2 less. 2 less.
Yeah, you're right. Right. So I would show that there's a clear pattern of racism in the NFL, and Brian Flores would be getting calls. Like everyone, I would drag out everything and burn the shield to the ground.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. So
that's what I would do.
Let's go ahead and answer some of these questions that people are bringing in the chat.
And that's what he's
been teased out. Right.
And just so I'm clear, he's a piece of shit. He's a terrible piece of shit. But unfortunately, when everyone's a piece of shit, you can't punish one piece of shit differently than another piece of shit when the only difference I see between these pieces of shit is one's a player and he's black and one happens and the other is a white owner. So that's just my issue with it.
All right, so let's answer some of these questions, pertaining to this, and then we're going to move on to some of the breakout candidates, some of the bust candidates. Let's go ahead and start with, where was one? Let's say, would it delay any possible suspension to a higher cap hit if Watson delays this?
Yeah. So that is a possibility. So basically, his contract this year, the way that it was set up was basically to expect some sort of suspension, front load everything with a signing bonus, and then backload his base salary, so that essentially he's getting all the money up front that he would be owed this year, and so any suspension would just be a paid vacation. I think the NFL has taken exception to this quite rightly. So from what I'm hearing, I always hate that. What I'm hearing, I'm reading Twitter. Like I don't have fucking sources. What I'm reading on Twitter is that the NFL plans to give him a big old fat fine with their ruling to try and cut into that. But yes, if it got pushed into the next year, I think he would lose money. I've seen people say, like, why would Watson seek a TRO if he thinks he's going to lose anyway? And like everything that's reported out of the Watson camp, I don't know. I don't fucking talk to Deshaun Watson or anyone in his camp. But everything that's reported out of his camp is that he is like maintaining innocence, that he thinks he's been unjustly punished in the first place, and that he will fight this to the ends of the earth. We'll see. He also said he wasn't going to sell all of his cases, and he changed his tune on that. But
he's obviously a sociopath. Like he doesn't understand that, or he doesn't have the normal human emotion of shame. So you're not going to shame him in anything. So yeah, he's got $260 million that he will burn through because he is a sociopath. Because his name is what matters to him.
You're
on mute. You're on mute. We can't.
My bad, dude. Sorry, I was trying to make sure you guys didn't hear me cough.
Come on, TJ
and also
Hooker.
Cry a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about what Deshaun Watson's worth is currently in dynasty leagues. Would you end up moving Deshaun Watson for a mid-2023 first-round pick?
No.
No, I would not. I mean, he's gonna play football at some point.
Yeah.
Like he's
Husker, is this a single quarterback league?
Yeah, that's the only way that would make sense, and it's
I mean,
not.
Here's the thing, right? Like, so if the 6-game, which I don't think it's gonna be, but like let's say that the 6-game thing was actually upheld, right? Like then, like barring moral objections, like to me with a 6th-round pick or with a 6-game suspension, he would be a back into the 1st-round startup pick. I think it'll end up being more than that. It'll end up being a year. But I mean, still, like, eventually the guy's going to play football again. Gross person. He's going to score a lot of fantasy points.
Look, once prison time was out the window, his days of being traded for one random first should have been over.
Yeah, I mean,
I would try. I'll say this: I would try. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? Like people panic pretty easily, and the news that came down today is really bad. If you're like, I think especially the bad thing to me is if you're the thing that kind of comes on the table, like the absolute worst case scenario, if you're a Watson manager right now, is that it gets TRO'd. He still ends up getting suspended after this thing is heard by like the end of this year. And then it bleeds into most of 2023. Like that's the nightmare scenario is if you don't get Watson for the playoffs in 2022, and then you also don't get Watson for the bulk of 2023. That's something that I might suggest to your league mates as a possibility if you're looking to acquire him.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into this. This sounds just so weird, just diving into something else after we just got so intense on these talks. But let's go ahead and dive into some breakout candidates. Let's talk about some bust candidates for 2022. I know that there's a lot of hype going on in training camp. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones is obviously going to be a star in this. Just kidding, Shane. Don't leave, Shane. I'm just kidding. We're seeing all sorts of weird hype around certain players. And, you know, we brought up Ashton Doolin right now is receiving insane hype. And I don't even understand that one. I mean, it's crazy, you know, where people are coming up with the stuff. And I want to ask you guys, when we talk about breakout candidates, what does that mean to you? We'll start out with Jacob. Like, what is a breakout candidate to you? Is it somebody that has to finish in the top 12? Is it somebody that just outperforms their ADP? How do you feel about breakout candidates? What does that mean?
I mean, it depends on the format, right? In a dynasty scenario, to me, it's like you've kind of got to be top 12 of your position because, you know, in a redraft format, I think you kind of got to be top 12 in your position because even as a late round pick, if you're just a wide receiver 2 or just a running back 2 in a redraft format, you're still not providing all that much value. In a dynasty format, it's different. It's like, can you accrue value, right? If I get Romeo Doubs, and he's the wide receiver 40 this year, but he shows enough that I can sell him for a 2024 first at the end of the year. That's a massive dub, you might say, right?
God.
So that's a breakout candidate.
How
right?
long are you waiting to say that?
Longer than you'd think. Right. In a best ball format, it's like, yeah, if I can get someone round 17 who finishes, you know, if Kendrick Bourne drafted at wide receiver 83 finishes wide receiver 35, that's actually pretty fucking useful in best ball, while in redraft it's totally pointless. So I really do think it depends on the format, but
you think that's
really,
totally pointless?
Sorry?
You think that's totally pointless?
In
like,
redraft,
why do you think that's totally?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because that's just a replacement level player, right? Like if it's a redraft format and it's a managed format, and you're a back end wide receiver 3, like you're just producing right at the replacement level wide receiver, right? So it's nice, but like you started so far below the replacement level anyway that like you coming up to that, like it's ultimately not making a difference to your roster.
Interesting. Never thought about it that way. Shane,
because you don't start 83 wide receivers. If you do, then it makes a big difference. But like your league doesn't start, 7 wide receivers per team, then it doesn't really matter if you're surpassing. If you're in a league if you're in a redraft league that's you can start 7 wide receivers, well then it matters a lot more. It depends on what the replacement level is.
Yeah, I'm in some of those leagues, but yeah, so this is why I get annoyed when Chase brings up people like Donovan Peoples-Jones, because even if he outperforms his ADP by 40, he's still the wide receiver 94. It's like it doesn't fucking matter. I don't know what it is. I'm just guesstimating. I'm guessing where he should be. It doesn't matter. To me, to break out, like I need, like it's got to be someone that jumps from wide receiver 3 level to wide receiver 1 level. Someone from wide receiver 4 level to high end wide receiver 2. Running back. Basically, I don't care about anything outside of running back, like 10. So it has to be a top 10 running back. So towards that end, I got a wide receiver for you that I like. I got 2 of them actually.
Well,
Yeah, the only thing is like within Dynasty, pretty much the only group of players that like get a major value boost without production is rookies, right? If you're a year 2 wide receiver, like Van Jefferson is a great example, right? Van Jefferson at 800 yards last year, nobody cares. Like you might, if at best you're getting like a 23 third for Van Jefferson, right? So it's like,
that's because he got hurt and he's out for half the season.
Well, before that, he wasn't exactly fetching.
Yeah, I'm joking. I'm giving you shit.
Like, right? Like, so after 800 yards, it's like, what did we get out of it? Well, maybe you got an okay flex play last year. He wasn't really that different than any other flex play. And then, and then he's not worth anything on the trade market. If Donovan Peoples-Jones like breaks out, like it's possible that Donovan Peoples-Jones could have a Van Jefferson season this year, but he's not going to be worth anything, anyway. So like, really, what's the point? Rookies is different. If your rookie shows any sign of life, then he all of a sudden has value. People get excited about rookies who do literally anything. So that's why I would happily re-roll like your Nico Collins, who's getting training camp hype, like roll him into a fucking second. If you need to add a third to Nico Collins to get a future second, add a third. I would rather have a Romeo Doubs than a Nico Collins, because at least if Doubs goes out and does stuff, people are going to be like, oh, rookie. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'll give a first for this guy. Throwing a second and stealing.
But I'm not using rookies because that's cheating. Just like when people do sleeper articles and they're like, here's this rookie. And I'm like, no, that is fucking cheating. You underhanded, lazy fuck. Generally, that's what I say.
God.
What is that a little intense? Sorry.
No, I liked it.
I'm just saying.
Shane, I have not seen you this intense in a show, and I don't even know how long. Keep it coming. In fact, start us out with your first sleeper. Let's go.
But just real quick, there's so much mediocrity that's celebrated in fantasy football content that it fucking makes me sick.
David Bellinger is going to be a thing. I don't care.
People just take fucking layups all day, and it's like, oh, yep. I'm like, fucking try, dude. Our fans, the people that read our shit deserve better. Fucking challenge them. Stop being so fucking mediocre. Anyway,
it's not wrong.
It's just it annoys me because there's so many people in this space that are so not talented and bring nothing to the table, and somehow everybody's like, oh, I really love their advice. Like, okay, do you like porridge too? Plain porridge? Because that's what you're getting, you fuck nut. I like
a great mood today.
I love it, dude. This is
Eastern Europe and fuck nuts.
We need to start out every episode with sex slaves.
I want to know. I want someone now, like whoever Shane's talking about, I want one of them to change their name on Twitter to FF_fucknut.
Well, I don't like euphemisms either.
I feel like Mr. Scampers is going to be the first one to do that. He's going to create FF_fucknut.
I'm going to get tweet alert right away. FF_fucknut with a thread of the best Dijon ketchups on Mount Rushmore.
I do not like euphemisms that minimize what something is, right? So like that's why we don't casually throw around the word rape, but we don't, like, we took it out of fantasy football, which is really good over the last 5 years, right? But you also don't want to see people not use that word when it's needed to be used, because when you don't use the actual term, ugly term, fuck nut, exactly. Okay. Then you're not showing people how bad that thing is.
No, I love my supervisor at the legal clinic. He had like this thing on the first day where he was using like really graphic language to describe like certain things, and he was like, I'm going to use that language because that's what it is, right? It's not going to make this person less of a child rapist if we don't call them a child rapist.
Exactly.
Damn.
Yeah, we come up with all these like nice euphemisms for like, he's a sex offender. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that sounds innocuous as shit. Like, if someone just tells me, yeah, it's a sex offender, I'm like, it could be anything. I don't know. He pulled his dick out in front of the school. Like, no. He raped 3 little kids. Very different. You know what I mean? You need that. So
breakout candidates.
Breakout candidates.
I blame Chase for this.
This is breakout candidates in fantasy football, not prison breakout candidates.
I'm sorry. I blame Chase for this.
We can pivot. We can start talking about shit that pisses us off. and fantasy football, and we can save the breakout candidates for next week. I don't give a
No,
shit.
no,
Breakout
no.
candidate is Wentworth Miller.
Wentworth Miller. No, I am
Nobody got that
really
joke.
big
He's the star of
on
Prison Break.
Brandon Ayuk this year. Brandon
There you
Ayuk.
go.
Part of the reason is because Deebo Samuel, as great as his season was, is not a 28% target share wide receiver. He's just
Hater.
not, kids.
Hater.
I'm just saying he's not. Do you prefer loaded nachos or loaded fries? Loaded nachos all day. Loaded fries are weird.
I don't
That's
know what
just
loaded
weird.
fries are. I assume that's the American
Bacon.
version of poutine.
Yeah, you put
No, it's
bacon
more.
and yeah, you just put a bunch of
It's-
cheese and
it's-
bacon, onions.
It's chips or fries, and then you
Right,
just
but
load
we
them.
don't. Okay, but so we would never have that. Like, it sounds like it's fries with stuff on it, which in Canada is poutine. So I don't really see the
It's
difference.
nachos, but with fries.
So
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk, mostly because I think last year was an anomaly for Deebo Samuel, who I think he's a very good wide receiver. I don't think he's the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football. I think Brandon Ayuk is the wide receiver 40 something right now. I just looked it up. I'm sorry. I'll look it up again. According to DLF, he's the wide receiver 42 in fantasy, which is I think that's absurd. All camp reports are glowing, like, and out of multiple sources. Like, what do I say? If you're going to believe sources, at least have multiple ones that you can listen to. So I listened to Greg Cosell, or I listened to that fat dude, Brian Baldinger. No, Ross Tucker. I listened to his podcast. He has Greg Cosell on.
Wait,
I
the
listen-
guy that always invites you to listen to his podcast?
He DMs you. That guy, yeah. I appreciate that personal invite he gives me. But like Greg Cosell's been talking him up, like guys on The Athletic have been talking about, beat reporters, like literally everywhere. They're saying it's night and day. Brandon Ayuk, like whatever lesson he needed to learn, apparently he learned. And guess what he's been doing? He's been buddying up with Trey Lance. See, he's smart. He's doing the thing. So Debo's out there right about getting his contract.
Ayuk's just like right behind him.
You're right. I didn't mean Baldy Scampers. It wasn't Baldinger. I got him confused with Russ Tucker. Both offensive linemen. So yeah, Brandon Ayuk is my guy. I think I really loved him in his rookie season. Like, he was a complete receiver, and he was the better receiver out of him and Debo. Now, do I think he's going to surpass Debo on that team? Yes, I do.
What?
Well, there you go. That's a call. Make a call. I like it. Make a call.
Oh, dude, you're gonna hurt people with that opinion, bro.
Well, they're opinions. They're
I know.
based on.
I mean, you do have to keep in mind that they practiced in the offseason all last year together because Brandon Ayuk was on the second team offense, and so he had to practice with Trey Lance.
Garoppolo reps.
I mean, it's going to be amazing when Trey Lance actually, for the first time ever, gets to practice with Deebo Samuel. I mean, they played together in one game, and you saw, a 38% target share or something like that, 33% target share in that game. But, Brandon Ayuk might be able to break out. Who knows?
I like it. Good call. What's yours, Chase?
Mine?
I don't know. I don't know who you were gonna take, so I need to decide who I'm gonna take based on who you take.
No, you go first. Go ahead. Take who you want to take. I don't care, any position. Who do you have as breakout?
Okay, well,
because I have one that I don't think anybody's gonna choose.
Okay, well, I'll do the one I mentioned first. Then I understand that everybody's been on him recently, so it sounds like I'm kind of going with. Well, granted, everyone's on Ayuk recently too. So what's Shane? Fucking not so unique, but. Ramondre Stevenson is my guy. He profiles everything that I want out of a running back. He catches passes. He has size. He's efficient. And while he's not, going to be like necessarily a breakaway run threat, 30, 40, 50 yards down the field, he is explosive, at least to that 20-yard level with his abilities. And he's in a spot now where he has like the role that we want a running back to have outside of a full 3-down role. It sounds like by all reports, he is going to be the one taking on the quote-unquote James White role, which is really he's going to be having a large share of the long down distance touches, 2-minute drill, third down, passing situations, catch-up mode. That's what we want to see. And then, it sounds like he's going to be taking on quite a bit of the rushing too. I don't even need him to out-carry Damian Harris. If he has half the carries with Damian Harris in a run-heavy offense and he's getting all the passing work, he's a guy who can maximize those long down and distance snaps because he had the second highest yards per route run in his draft class. And he's a guy, well, you're wrong, Troy. he's going to be a guy who outscores every one of these fucking dead zone backs this year. He's going to outscore Montgomery. He's going to outscore Jacobs. He's going to outscore Gibson.
Well, okay,
he has
listen.
a better role. He's
Listen,
be
you
the
son of a
guy who
bitch. You just keep Montgomery name out of your mouth.
All the high value touches. Oh, well, just wait till we get to the bus, boy, because he's coming. He is coming up on the bus segment for sure. Ramondre Stevenson's season, he should be getting drafted in round 5.
Did you say we're getting to the bus boys? Wait,
when we get to the bus,
5. Oh my
Montgomery's
God.
You don't have to.
Everyone already hates
5.
Montgomery. You can't even pick him. Everyone hates him all the
No,
time.
I hate him. I hate him more than anybody else does. But I'm gonna let Jacob have that one. Anyways, for my breakout candidate,
we're all saying who hates David Montgomery the most.
I love David Montgomery.
Every fantasy person, I hate Montgomery the most. No, Spartacus.
No, I literally I cannot. Yeah. All right.
David Montgomery has sex slaves in Eastern Europe. I hate him the most.
So I'm deciding between 2 running backs, or I'm deciding between a running back and a wide receiver, and I think I'm going to go with this wide receiver because I think Jacob's going to have a little bit more to say about it. I'm going to go with Pittman. I think Pittman's too much of an obvious choice to an extent, but I do think he's going to see tons of scoring opportunities. That defense, I think, is going to be slightly worse than what they were before. They've got a slightly tougher schedule to an extent. You guys traded away Rockison, so I don't want to hear.
We got Ngakwe, and then we signed Stephon Gilmore.
That's fine. That's fine. No, I do think y'all's defense will be fine.
Also, his name is Lockiasin. Get it right.
Yeah. Well, he's over there for the Raiders now. So I think that Michael Pittman is going to be a top end performer. But for me, we didn't get to talk about what a breakout candidate actually is for me. Sure, that's great if Michael Pittman goes from wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 1. However, for a breakout candidate for me, that's somebody that you really didn't see coming. That has an opportunity to make a massive splash on your rosters, which is why the other player that I was debating between was Kenny Gainwell. This is a guy who was highly efficient in high school, highly efficient in college. They, for some weird reason, did not want to get him the ball when Miles Sanders got hurt. However, they all are using him all over the field, out of the slot, out of the formations in the backfield as well. Sure, Miles Sanders looks like a beast. Miles Sanders can never stay healthy, and they don't use him in the red zone. Kenny Gainwell was used in the red zone when, Miles Sanders was healthy. I think that Kenneth Gainwell is absolutely going to be a beast this year, and he's going to break out onto the scene. He's going to be a running back 2 in the 2023 season.
Who's going to be
2022 season? I'm sorry.
Running back 2?
Kenny Gainwell, baby.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell. That would be a breakout because he's being drafted as an RB7. But my only concern about Gainwell is, like you said, for whatever reason, when Miles Sanders got hurt, they showed absolutely no want to expand Kenny Gainwell's role. I don't
understand that.
Kenny Gainwell was a healthy scratch at one point. There was other games where he wasn't a healthy scratch, but he didn't get to touch the ball behind Boston Scott and Jordan Howard. Yeah. Very concerning. I always get concerned when you see a player used a lot in the beginning of the year, and that's what he was. He was one of the most targeted running backs in the league. It was like him and James White through the first 4 weeks of the season. And when you see that go from that to, holy shit, we don't want to use him at all, that's
Joshua Kelly
concerning.
Vibes. Joshua Kelly vibes.
Very concerning to me. The only saving grace that he does have is that Miles Sanders is ahead of him, who is having a great camp, by the way.
Amazing camp.
But and in case you haven't heard, he's averaged 5.1 yards per carry since he's entered the league, which is second and the best in the league behind Nick Chubb. But guess what? These are things that are always true about Miles Sanders. He always has a great camp. He's always been efficient, but he's not. If he just gets 13 carries a game, he'll run for 1,200 yards.
Troy,
it's not going to
you
happen.
misguided soul. If you think Boston Scott has stopped fucking with fantasy managers everywhere, you are deeply mistaken. Boston Scott lives forever, bro. That man, when fantasy football is gone, when Deshaun Watson and the NFLPA take down the NFL and
he's a Danny Woodhead.
When global warming pushes my entire province directly to the Pacific Ocean, when the world is at its end, all that will remain is Boston Scott scoring 3 touchdowns against the New York Giants somewhere.
Yeah, that's so true. But anyways, Kenny Gainwell is my pick for what I consider a breakout. I think he's going to absolutely smash. And hey, everybody's talking about AJ Dillon, right? AJ Dillon could be a league winner. And I love AJ Dillon more than most too.
Yes, Ricky, that's what I said. That's always against the Giants.
But when it comes to like actual like league winner status, we have one of the most run heavy teams in an offense that should allow a ton of efficiency to the running back position. Kenny Gainwell could actually be a league winning running back. And I don't understand why more people aren't on it. He's going round 17, 18 in most leagues, redraft or dynasty. All right, let's hop on to your biggest bust for the season. That's going to be players. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about what the biggest bust means. Is it a player that you might draft in the first round that gets hurt? Is it a player that you rely on to fill it out if you run like hero RB? Like, what is an actual bust for you guys? So I'll start with Shane on this one.
All right. Well, one, injury always precludes you from being a bust in my eyes. Literally nothing you can do about that. Like, you can't draft. I can't yell at someone for drafting CMC last year and then him getting hurt and me going, well, you're bad at drafting. And,
what about this year?
This year, yeah. No. But
yeah,
generally,
I mean, seriously, like this year, like, would you consider CMC a bust? Like, if somebody drafted in the first round, maybe the second overall pick or the first overall pick?
No, because again, if it's injury related, even if it's a player that's been previously injured, I can't really say that you drafted, like, you know what I mean? Like, that was a bust. Like, would I've done it? No. Oh, Troy. But so I'm gonna go with my bust is I mean, could it be considered a bust? Cam Akers is running back 14, and I just don't think he's. I don't think he's a top. I don't think he's a RB2. I think he's like RB26. I don't think he's.
So. Me and my 27% best ball, Daryl Henderson loves to hear it.
Yeah, there's the whole.
You loved Cam Akers for so long.
Look, Doug
Achilles.
He did pop in his Achilles.
If you tell me that Cam Akers is 100% healthy and ready to go, I think he's going to have a fantastic season. I'm not.
I wasn't. See, even if he's 100% healthy and ready to go, I don't know that he has a fantastic season, to be quite honest with you. I think Cam Akers he had a nice stretch there towards the end of his rookie year, and we all extrapolated that to make him the running back one. And then I don't think he's that good to be not. Okay, let me not say it like that. It's not that I don't think that he's good. I don't think that he's a running back one. I don't think he's elite. I think he's pretty good at what he does. Like, he's a good pass catching back. He's okay out of the backfield, but I don't think he's an elite back by any stretch of the imagination. And he's still recovering from an Achilles injury. Like, it was awesome that he came back and played last year, but he's still probably, like Jacob said, there's no way he's 100%. It's still going to take him some time before he's the guy he was before that injury.
That's my issue with Cam, is the health. Like, I have some. I think where I've landed with Cam is that, like, his ADP is like, it's what I call a compromise ADP, which is that essentially it's like placed in the middle of where people would want to draft him if we had full assurance that he was like back to exact health that he was this time last summer. And then somewhere, obviously much higher than where people are worried he's at health wise. I don't think he's going to finish where he's being drafted. I think he'll either crush that or fall well below that. And I don't even mean as in like he's going to get hurt again. I just mean like he might come out and just not be effective. And maybe some people will say that he just was never that effective. We don't know. We didn't have that large of a sample on him before it happened, unfortunately. What I always thought with Cam, like, I didn't think he was like an elite, efficient back in the way that Dobbins was. But what I liked about Akers was that he was good enough and he had all the necessary skills to have a workload. Like, he was a good enough runner. He had the size. He was a good enough pass catcher. And he's in a system that wants to use one back. And so if he was good enough at everything and he got to do everything in a good offense and he was the back, like, he's going to score a bunch of fantasy points. Like at Leonard Fournette last year, James Conner, all these other guys that I don't think are like necessarily incredible, inspiring talents, but can soak up enough volume to make it work. I'm just not sure that he's even at that. Like, I don't know. I think playing 17 games effectively is a big ask with Cam. I wouldn't gamble my season on it. So I err more on the side of bust there too than buy.
Do you think there's any chance that he actually sees any kind of like receiving work like we saw in Sean McVay's offenses earlier on? We saw like the Todd Gurley's of the world get a ton of targets under Sean McVay or I'm sorry, the previous running backs. Like, does he have any kind of PPR value?
He had a good receiving profile in college, so I definitely think there's a chance. it hasn't translated to the NFL yet. I think what often happens is that with rookie running backs, it's less about pass catching, it's more about pass blocking. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think that they drafted Kyron Williams is a sign.
That's
Like
so
Kyron
gross.
Williams.
Stop.
Kyron Williams sucks. Like I don't think Kyron Williams is good. But if you draft Kyron Williams, like you're drafting him for one reason. It's to play on third down in the 2-minute drill, right? Like you're drafting him to be a J.D. McKissick. So he's such a specific like usage type. Like you're not drafting him to take early down carries. That tells me that either Kyron or Daryl, but that tells me that they don't really want Cam Akers playing in that situation. So I would be surprised.
I mean, he could have been just a depth pick, devil's advocate, right? Because he is just a 5th round pick. So I'd be concerned about our boy Darrell Henderson still there though, because if Cam falters at all, they know they can go to a guy that can carry the workload and be an effective running back one in the league. Maybe not full time because he will get injured because that's what he does. But enough that, they can go, all right, well, he's just not it this week. So this is a Henderson week. So that would concern me too.
All right, I'm going to go with mine real quick, and then we'll let Jacob finish up with his. I mean, DK Metcalf to me is mind-boggling. Like, I don't understand why people are drafting him so high. Like, season-long, best ball, dynasty. Like, he just re-signed this contract now, so he's anchored to either a rookie quarterback next year or Drew Lock. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, he had, 75 receptions last year. The majority of his net games came on big plays. Drew Lock has been able to deliver certain plays, but now it's looking like Geno Smith. And Geno Smith didn't have great games with DK Metcalf. I don't understand the value in where DK Metcalf's going. I don't understand why he's so high. Like, are you guys on board with this? Like, are you guys avoiding him? Or are you guys hopping on him? Like, what are y'all doing with DK Metcalf?
I draft Metcalf. I mean, he's just a way better player than every player he's being drafted around.
Yeah, there's that. There's the fact that he's being drafted around Michael Pittman when LOL.
No. He's being drafted way. Oh, you're talking about
Dynasty. Yeah, I always look from the Dynasty. I know this is fantasy intervention, but I prefer to look at the Dynasty scope. I think there's still the thing about DK is there is still room for growth in his value though, because he is a wide receiver 11 in Dynasty right now, and there's a couple old guys ahead of him, and that's. Yeah. There's the fact that, he has Geno / Drew Lock thrown to him this year. Like, so if he goes out there and balls, he's going to be a top 4 wide receiver next year in ADP. So there's definitely room for growth there. And if he doesn't smash, well, guess what? You're going to have people like me that are going, yeah, but he had Drew Lock and Geno Smith throwing in the football. What did you expect? Like, if he just goes out there and puts up 900 yards and 5 touchdowns, that'll be the narrative.
All right, so DK Metcalf for T. Higgins.
Oh, Higgins.
Okay, what about you, Shane?
Probably T. Higgins.
Okay, what about Tyreek Hill or DK Metcalf?
DK Metcalf.
In Dynasty or in redraft?
I'm looking on Dynasty right now.
In Dynasty, give me DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
What about Waddle?
Here's the problem.
Waddle for sure.
Well, I'd take DK, but I would never make this trade because I wouldn't make a straight up positional trade like that, except for the Tyreek one because he's old. So I'd make that move.
But if you think about this, Shane, and less in terms of a trade and more in terms of you deciding who you want to trade for,
or who you want to draft if it's a startup.
That's true.
But I mean, these are all players that are going after DK Metcalf that I'm mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, like I feel like DK Metcalf is still overvalued, going ahead of T. Higgins, going over Waddle Hill.
T. Higgins, and he does not go ahead of Waddle.
He does. He's going 2 spots later than T. Higgins.
Fake news. It's fake news.
I'm looking at DLF. Okay, you got to blame DLF.
Then DLF is wrong because I've been doing 20 dynasty.
T. Higgins is the wide receiver 7.
DK Metcalf go ahead of T. Higgins in one of them.
Yeah, T. Higgins is the wide receiver 7, and DK Metcalf is the wide receiver 11, bro.
Not for what I'm looking at.
Well, I don't know what you're looking at, but it's not DLF because I'm on there.
I'm on there too.
Stop slandering their name. I write for them.
I know. I'm trying. What, dude?
I'm looking. Superflex, July 2022 startup Dynasty ADP wide receivers. T. Higgins, wide receiver 7. DK Metcalf, wide receiver 11.
What the hell are we looking at right now? Hold on. I got to pull this up.
Receiving grades.
PFF receiving grades.
Oh shit! Wrong screen. Sorry, my bad. Wrong screen. Hold on. I just lost all credibility. Hold on. Here we are. Wait, so real quick.
Are you on single QB?
No,
Never
I'm
do
on Superflex. Look, Superflex, right here.
Yeah.
Boom. And I go to, how are we different?
Well,
I don't know. Are you looking at rankings?
Metcalf. No, this is ADP.
Now go to wide receiver. Go to wide receiver.
Highlight wide receiver. This is the worst error possible. Look, whatever Chase is looking at, it doesn't reflect what happens in real leagues. That's all I know.
Yeah. So of the two, and
go try and trade DK Metcalf for T Higgins. See what happens. It's not happening. You're getting the big old reject button is what you're gonna get.
But I'll say this: of the two, I'd probably want T Higgins over the other. But who's got more room for growth and value appreciation over the next year? It's not T Higgins because he's not going to move into the top 5, top 4. DK Metcalf could do that with a good season. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's look, if you like, and that's part of how you play Dynasty, right? Like, are you fine with taking a little risk? Because if you are, then you go, I'll take DK then. Let me try it out.
See, my thoughts on it are just simpler, I guess, because I'm the redraft pleb here, but I look at it as T Higgins is younger. T Higgins is going 2.5 rounds higher in redraft. Easy call for me. He's younger. He's projected for more points.
All right, Jacob, let's finish up with you. Who's your bust candidate?
Well, I was going to talk about Monty, but everyone fucking hates Monty, so that's boring. I'll talk about a guy that everyone's just gassing up like crazy on Twitter right now. Just gassing him up. Everybody's back in. I'm not in. Allen Robinson. That's my bust. Allen Robinson was bad last year. BAD bad. He had a 19% target share in a offense that people now think without him is the worst supporting cast in the NFL. So they weren't all that much to compete against. What we have generally seen is that when wide receivers 28 and later, and he's exactly that. So he's certainly on the young end, but when they decline, it happens unexpectedly, it happens sharply, and it doesn't recover. I think that it's entirely possible that that everyone's narrative that he wasn't trying, he didn't care, he'll be back to being fine this year. I think it's entirely possible that's right. Even if so, he's in an offense with Cooper Kupp, who is fantastic, had well over a 30% target share last year. And this role, but there was kind of split. It was Woods for the first half, and then it ended up being OBJ for the second half. It was like a 20% target share role, averaged out to like mid wide receiver 2, right? That's an okay role. It would make Robinson a small hit at his ADP, and there's a chance that he just does not have it anymore. So to me, I see him as a small hit, big miss type of player going in a range with guys like Juju and Gabe Davis and Deontay and Jerry Jeudy and DK and Bateman.
God, he's going that high?
Some type of combination of either big miss, big hit, like a Gabe Davis, or a Jerry Jeudy, or, someone like a Juju, who I think is more like a small miss, big hit type of situation. So I'm inclined to be fading Allen Robinson. I think it's very possible that he meets his ADP. I think it's very possible he busts big time. I don't think it's that possible that he just crushes his ADP. Whereas I look at other guys that I think have a lot higher upside and honestly kind of similarly low floors.
So you don't think that Allen Robinson has a higher floor than a guy like Gabriel Davis, who could be completely hit or miss?
I don't, because I think Allen Robinson could be completely hit or miss. He was the wide receiver 91 last year.
Yeah, and then that's kind of I like what Jacob's saying here. Look, I'm the upside guy, right? Like, what's Allen Robinson's upside? And don't tell me it's wide receiver 1, because it's not. Is it mid wide receiver 2?
If Cooper Kupp's job, obviously,
Yeah, if everything breaks right,
hurt. That's his ceiling case.
Yeah,
I don't really want to bet on that.
Yeah, and look, I take Gabe Davis right now because I could trade him for more probably. I like your call, Jacob.
No, that makes sense. I just wanted to be the devil's advocate because I can't find a reason to disagree with it, to be honest. That's pretty much on point. I didn't realize that Allen Robinson was going that high, to be completely frank. Like, I had no idea. I thought he was going round 9, round 10.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm always talking about in redraft formats. I don't know where he's going in Dynasty. In redraft, he's going.
No, I was talking about in redraft because I
yeah,
haven't
he's
done very
going.
many redrafts so far. So I mean, in best ball, he's what, round 7?
No, in best ball, he's round 4. That's what I'm talking about.
Is he
He's going to round
really?
4.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's how little I have him actually on my phone, ready to draft because I don't have him at all. I'm
He
in
goes,
currently
back-to-back with
16
Deontay
best balls
Johnson,
for the
who had
puppy 3.
28% target share last year. Respect Deontay Johnson.
God,
Put
man,
some
that's
respect
crazy.
on his name.
All right, let's get out of here. I got stuff to do.
Shane
You guys got
hates
stuff to do.
Deontay
Shane
Johnson.
has things to think about tonight. Anyways, where are we?
Some sex slaves.
That's. I was wondering
Jesus.
if you'd pick up that
Eastern Europe.
callback. I didn't think you'd pick up that callback. All right.
They'll be booking a flight to Croatia.
Jesus
Latvia.
Christ. Slavlanka.
Oh,
Yeah, at Shane is the worst. Dynasty Trades HQ, Dynasty Trades in 5 on the YouTubes, Manic and Chill once in a while on the YouTubes, DLF, fantasy data, etc., y'all.
Jacob, where can we
Find
find
me on
you?
Twitter, FF_RTGB. You can find my latest best ball piece up on playerprofiler.com. There'll be more written content coming as we move closer and closer to the start of the season. And you can find me on Tuesdays with the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. You'll find me next, I think, on Friday. I'm going to be doing a best ball stream with Eric Beimfor over on his show.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. Sounds like fun. You guys can go check out all of our content over there at youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Once again, that's youtube.com/fantasy intervention. If you guys enjoy the show, make sure y'all hit subscribe, turn on the notifications. Next week, Wednesday night, we will be live to cover the Hall of Fame game. That's right. We will be covering everything that happened in the Hall of Fame game from start. I'm totally kidding.
I got to drive to Canton. Fuck.
Yeah, we will be in Canton. I might be in Canton to do it.
I got to get there a couple days early, huh?
Yep.
All right.
God, wait. The Hall of Fame game's tomorrow night, isn't it?
Okay, never mind. That'd be
you
like a
leaving?
week early.
You leaving today?
A week and a half early. I'm not good with time.
He's leaving
No.
on a jet plane.
Troy, we'll see you at the expo. Everybody else, we'll see you all at the expo. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you all for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life.